Hello everyone, my name is Barbara and I would like to welcome you all to our latest Novedge webinar episode. In this week's episode, what's new in Bluebeam Revu 2015? Bluebeam Revu 2015 is here. Yay! Get an extensive look at the game-changing new features in Revu that will take your paperless workflows to a whole new level. Today's presenter, Steve Jones, is an application specialist for Bluebeam Software, supporting their global network of channel partners. Prior to working at Bluebeam, Steve worked for an information technology systems integrator and continues to work passionately in helping customers to leverage the power of cutting-edge technology. Before we get going, here's an overview of what we do at Novedge. Novedge is one of the largest online stores for design software. We offer a huge assortment of software solutions that cater to virtually every designer's need. Put us to the test and come visit our webpage at novedge.com. And for more daily software news and limited time promotions, pay a visit to the Novedge blog and follow us on Facebook, Google+, and Twitter. Coming up next week, hello, Rhino Gold 5.0, the latest cut for jewelry. Get to know the latest version of Rhino Gold recently launched and learn about the top 10 new tools with real-world sample models. Last but not least, today's webinar is free and is being recorded live. If you want to rewatch this or any webinar episodes in our collection, just head over to Novedge's YouTube or Vimeo channels. And now I'm going to make Steve the presenter, and he will tell you all about Revu's 2015 new features. So enjoy.
Awesome. Thank you, Barbara. And thank you, Novedge, for hosting this webinar today. Novedge is an awesome partner of ours. I love working with them. And I'm excited to show you what's new in Revu 2015. So I am Steve Jones. I'm an application specialist here at Bluebeam Software. I also have my teammate, Angela Boudreau, on the line with me, and she's going to be manning the questions window through this webinar. So feel free to type in your questions. She'll respond to you as we go. And then typically we have plenty of time at the end of the webinar for some Q&A as well, so I can address some questions live on the call and maybe go over some kind of useful questions that we've seen in the chat window that might be helpful to address to the rest of the group as well. Of course, if you have any questions about the software after the call, if you have any quoting needs, any sort of general Bluebeam needs at all, you can reach out directly to Novedge. I have their information here, novedge.com. You can email Calvin or just give them a call. They'd be more than happy to help you. With that, I'm really excited to go over the new stuff, but first I want to kind of give a brief overview of Bluebeam as a company. So we're not your typical software company. We really try to push the limits of the world's most document-intensive industries by creating intuitive PDF-based digital markup and collaboration solutions. And our approach to development and creating these new releases like Revu 2015 is really pretty simple. We pick our customers' brains, we engage in ongoing conversations with them, and we really try to understand their projects and understand their workflows. This allows our solutions to evolve as our customers' needs do. And the idea is just to keep our finger on the pulse of exactly what's happening in the AEC industry and constantly pushing the limits of what's possible. So Bluebeam Revu streamlines processes throughout the entire project lifecycle. By viewing, editing, and sharing documents quickly, you can keep projects moving forward with less idle time spent waiting around. And with Bluebeam Revu, in our PDF creation, markup, and collaboration tools, customers such as yourself are able to accelerate all stages of the project, all the way from design review up to closeout and facilities management. All right, so the moment of truth, all the new stuff in Bluebeam Revu 2015. So you can see them all up on the slide there. I'm going to talk through them, and then I'm also going to show you how they work live in action as well. So firstly, I want to go over some of our new batch processing features. Firstly, batch slip sheet. So batch slip sheet automates the process of keeping complex file sets up to date and allows users to append, prepend, or replace, aka slip sheet, existing page content with new file revisions. The second batch process is batch overlay. Batch overlay automates the process of creating overlay comparisons between multiple pairs of files. And lastly, batch comparison is an existing feature, but it has been enhanced with new auto-matching functionality, the same sort of auto-matching that you see in batch slip sheet and batch overlay, and it has some just general overall user interface improvements. Next on the agenda is sets. So sets is a feature we've had for a couple of versions, but like many other things, it's seen an update this time around. Sets, for those who aren't familiar, it enables you and your team to navigate a large collection of individual PDFs as if they were a single multi-page document. So you're sort of having your cake and eat it too. With Sets 3.0, we've introduced the following enhancements. Sets files can now be added to custom categories so that you can arrange them in any desired order. You also have the option of revision, slip sheeting, and filter enhancements. And you'll also, again, see significant performance enhancements as well. Next, we have Cloud Plus. Cloud Plus is a new markup tool that combines the functionality of the cloud and call-out markups into a single tool. And this not only saves you several clicks, but it also appears as a single markup in the markups list, making it easier to manage in that markups list. Next, this is probably one of the most highly requested features of all time, Sketch Tools. So Sketch Tools is a suite of new markup tools that allow you to quickly create polygons, polylines, rectangles, and ellipse markups to exact measurements based on the PDF's calibrated scale. So this won't be replacing, AutoCAD anytime soon, but it's a really helpful tool and a great way to, for example, document site information to scale on your PDFs. And I'll show you how those work pretty quickly here. Next, we have the Dynamic Toolset Scaler. It enables markups to automatically resize precisely and proportionately when used on documents of different scales. This eliminates the need to create separate tool sets for working with different scales. Next on the agenda, Spaces. It's another existing feature we've enhanced. So at its core, Spaces allows you to sort and report on markups based on user-defined zones that they reside in. With Review 2015, you can now copy and paste spaces across other pages and files. You can also create an area measurement directly from spaces, and you can also add hyperlinks to and from spaces very quickly. Next, we've updated the capture feature. So capture, which we introduced in Review 12, allowed users to embed a gallery of images within markups. With Capture 2.0, you can now also embed video with audio using the camera tool directly from Review, in addition to those images, which is huge in improving your team's communication of site issues. The PDF summary view has also been reformatted to feature capture images more prominently, and it's also possible to see which markups contain capture media from directly within the markups list. Finally, Studio has seen some great updates this year. So you can now define Studio session end dates. Rather than having to manually set yourself reminders on your Outlook calendar to go in and close out those sessions, you can set an expiration date ahead of time. You can also now create new shareable project file links, which allows you to share files within a project without inviting them to that Studio project. So maybe you want to send a download link to just one specific sheet to somebody. They can essentially download it straight from a web link. They never have to go into Studio to download it. Also, users can now define project folder permissions on a per folder basis. So you can define what different users or groups of users are allowed to do on a per folder basis, which is very helpful. And lastly, you can now update a project file directly from a Studio session without finalizing that session. Alrighty, so with that being said, let's see all of this in action. Been doing a lot of talking. I'm sure you're eager to see it. Let's do it. So throughout the project lifecycle, there are bound to be lots and lots of different revisions, and you can now manage them much more easily with Revu's new batch features that I touched on before. First one I want to go over is batch slip sheet. So when revisions are given, you often need a way to transfer your comments onto the newly issued drawings. In our previous release, Revu 12, you could manually slip sheet individual drawings using this thumbnails tab here, which works fine if you had only 1 or 2 sheets. But what if you had 50 or 100 sheets? It was definitely less than ideal. In Revu 2015, you can now slip sheet multiple drawings into a set all at once in one batch process using batch slip sheet. Before I launch into it, I want to make sure everybody knows this feature, batch slip sheet, is exclusive to Revu Extreme. So if you are interested in this feature after I show it to you, you want to make sure you're looking at Revu Extreme. This is the only feature I'm going to cover today that is only unique to Extreme. Everything else is in all 3 versions. So with that, let me show you how it works. So first, in order to access batch slip sheet, I'm going to go up here to the File menu and Batch. This is my, my menu for all my different batch processes I have. And I'm going to do batch slip sheet. Alrighty, so first I'm going to load in my current pages, and I'll go ahead and do that. Let's see here, batch slip sheets, originals. There we go. I'll just load all those in there. Also, instead of selecting files, I can also just add an entire folder as well, which saves me a couple clicks. So I'll do that this time around. So there's all my revisions in there. So there we go, my originals, my revisions. I can define how Revu is going to match them, whether it's file name and page index, page label, page region. I can set them up manually. For the purposes of this demo, I'll just leave it on default there. And I'll go ahead and click Match. So as you can see, Revu has automatically matched these sheets up together. So you might be wondering, well, how is it it's smart enough to figure it out or auto-match it together? You also have these sort of revision filters on the end of the file name. So this auto-matching functionality that's in batch slip sheet, batch compare, and batch overlay, it's smart enough to recognize that Rev 1, that probably means revision 1. So it is kind of smart enough to recognize that. So I can define whether I want to replace my current pages with revised pages or just insert those revised pages before the current ones. I'm going to insert them in there. That way we keep everything. I'll set it to copy over my markups and unflatten them. And I'm going to stamp all those old pages as being superseded as well. All right, so it tells me in the summary here that 5 of my pages were slip sheeted. So it gives me a nice little breakdown here. I also have the ability to create a report here. So I'm going to generate a report of everything that happened. And I can see my 5 slip-sheeted pages. I have everything is hyperlinked. I can look at my revision that I slip-sheeted in there, as well as the original right here. And you'll notice this original has this humongous superseded stamp right there letting me know, so there's no question this is an old one. And since I had the revision with all of the markups brought over, I had it inserted as a previous page. I can look at it right here. So this is my revision with all of those markups kind of scraped over onto it. So as you can see, batch slip sheet, it's going to save you a lot of time compared to manually slip sheeting all your documents, especially when you're talking about large quantities of pages, 50, 100, 500, 1,000. This can save you hours and hours and hours of work. Alrighty, so onwards to the next batch feature, I'm going to show you batch overlay. So during the construction process, the overlay pages feature has been a really popular way to coordinate between disciplines or to see the changes in revision drawings. But historically, this has all had to be done one coordination or revision set at a time. With batch overlay in Review 2015, you can now select multiple files and have Review run the overlay all at once in one batch, saving you from having to spend the time to overlay individual pages manually. For example, let's say you just received 5 sets of revisions from the architect and you want to overlay all of them. So the way we're going to do that is going into batch overlay. So let me go ahead and close out some of these other things I have open here. So again, I'll go to File, Batch Overlay. Process is very similar, so I'm going to add my current pages. So there's my originals. Going to add my revisions. There we go. Again, I can choose options for how it's going to match them. I will leave it alone. And let's do it. So again, Review has intelligently matched them together. I can override that if I want by just clicking them and moving them up or down. I'm going to leave them alone. A few different things you'll notice from the dialog that we saw for batch slip sheet. I can define the colors for the overlaid documents. So these originals are going to be in red. My revisions are going to be in green. I could change that if I so wanted to. And I can select an output folder for those overlaid PDFs that I'm creating. So let's go ahead and let's put those in this differences folder right here. All right. So let's go ahead and overlay those. So again, I get a report of how many pages were overlaid. And again, I have the option of creating a report. So let's go ahead and look at that. Everything is hyperlinked here. I can see my revision. Here's my original. And here's my overlaid PDF, where they're laid on top of each other. So just like regular overlay pages, with batch overlay, it creates a layered PDF. Anywhere where they are the same is going to be black. Anywhere where they differ is color-coded to whatever colors I define. So if I go over to my Layers tab right here, I have the option of toggling these layers on and off, whether I want to see the original or that revision. In this particular scenario, I only loaded in one set of revisions, but if I'd done multiple sets in there, Rev 2, Rev 3, Rev 4, etc., it would create a layer for each of those. All right. So that's, as you can imagine, really speeds up the process of overlaying lots of different revisions there. You're not having to do them manually, kind of one at a time. So that's awesome. Let's move on to batch compare. So batch compare is the third batch process in what we have lovingly dubbed internally as the batch match trio. And batch compare is an existing feature, but it has been pretty drastically improved in this release. So again, file, batch, in this case, batch compare. Again, very similar process, load in my originals, load in my revisions, define how I want to match them. I'll go ahead and match them. So similar dialog here. Once again, I can define the output folder for these compared drawings. I'll just do it in this difference folder here. And on this next page, as it runs through there, once again, I'm going to have my my compared sheets there, and I can again create a report. So here we go. I have my revised pages that I brought in, my current page, and the comparison document. So for those that are familiar with the document comparison tool, the way it works is Revu essentially does a pixel by pixel comparison between the sheets and automatically adds these cloud markups on there for me to quickly let me recognize where the differences are. So you can imagine, I mean, in this case, I only did 5 different sheets, but let's say that I had, 100 or 500 sheets. Being able to run them in one batch process and have this bird's eye view summary report where I can jump directly to these comparisons and see exactly everything they changed is not only an enormous time saver, but you imagine on just the margin for human error that we're cutting down on is tremendous. So this is an immensely powerful tool for customers. Alrighty, so I'm going to move onwards to the next new item for Revu 2015, and that is Sets 3.0. So let me ask you this. Have you ever tried to manage a PDF document set that has a lot of pages in it? Having a large multi-page PDF can make the file really cumbersome to work with since the file size can get really large. Sets helps to remedy this problem by allowing you to view multiple individual PDF files as if they were one very large document. So I mentioned before, it's kind of having your cake and eating it too. Best of both worlds. So with Sets 3.0, there's some significant improvements to it. Let me, once again, close out all this other stuff I have open. First, I'm going to access the Sets panel by clicking Tab Access up here and jumping into Sets. When I click the button to create a new set, it's going to give me this little pop-up warning here. And it's basically letting me know that sets that I create in Revu 2015 are not going to be able to be opened in earlier versions of Revu. And the reason for this is it was kind of a necessary step in order for us to implement these performance enhancements. Unfortunately, it's not backwards compatible. So if you're opening an existing set that was previously created in 11 or 12, you want to make sure and you save a backup copy of that set in case you have any folks on your team that are still running old versions of Revu. That way they can access them as well. So just something to be cognizant of. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open this up. So as I add some files to this set, it's going to prompt me to assign categories to these sheets sorted by discipline or naming convention. So I have this construction category template that's preloaded into Revu and conforms to AIA standards. But you can also create your own templates here. You can see right here, I essentially have different sorts of disciplines here sorted by category, and I have filters as well. Again, for the sake of the demo, I'll just leave it as default, and I'll show you kind of what I'm talking about here. So if I go to Sets, my Sets folder, I'm going to load in my original drawings, and let's add some revisions in there. Let's make this interesting. So I have some revisions all mixed in there too. And you'll notice it automatically assigns categories. And this is based on the naming convention of my files. Again, you can override this and create your own conventions if you so choose. I can sort my sheets by file name and page label. I can also control how they're sorted here. Actually, let's do file name and page index. And if I go into my advanced options here, I can set up how it deals or how it filters those revisions there, what it does with previous revisions, whether they're crossed or grayed out, and whether they're stacked on top of each other or highlighted. I also have options whether I want to copy over my markups, whether I want them flattened or unflattened. I'm going to leave them unflattened. And again, I can stamp those previous revisions as superseded. Alrighty, so let's take a look at what this is going to look like. So Review is prompting me, do I want to modify these pages? It's essentially asking me if I want to copy the markups over to those new pages. And I have the option of removing sheets from this list of ones that I'm going to bring over markups, or I can skip the process entirely if I've changed my mind. But I want to show you guys how everything works, so let's go ahead and do it. Alrighty, so if I look at my thumbnails tab, it gives the appearances of a multi-page PDF, but this is all separate one-page PDF files. So touching on what we talked about before, I had the lightness and flexibility of those one-page PDFs, but the ease of use of having a multi-page PDF. It's best of both worlds. If I click on this, this Show or Hide Thumbnails button, I can also see them as a list, and you'll notice they're sorted by discipline according to those categories that I assigned earlier. So some of these sheets had revisions in here, so I want to show you how those revisions work. Let me find one that has revisions. Here we go. So this one right here, so the version on top is going to be the most current version of this sheet. If I want to view previous revisions, I have these little blue arrows right here. If I click this arrow, I can view that previous revision. It has very large on there, superseded, it's crossed out. There's no question this is an old one. And if I click it and open up that old copy, again, that humongous stamp letting me know, hey, you're looking at a superseded revision. So this is very helpful. Another new thing in Sets 3.0 is I have the ability to run document comparison or document overlay right from this thumbnails view. So if I want to compare these two revisions against each other, I can simply right-click on them right here and compare them or overlay them right from that thumbnails panel. So Sets 3.0, it really makes it easier than ever to view, organize, and utilize those single-page PDFs, viewing them as one cohesive document set and staying organized. So now let's talk about enhancements to markup tools. So I'll go ahead and close this set that I had open. Let me open up a good example for markup tools here already. So I mentioned that we have a brand new markup tool in Review 2015, which is Cloud Plus. So the reason that we introduced this is we found that a lot of customers were using the Cloud tool and the Callout tool in conjunction with each other. So if I wanted to ask, is this ADA compliant? There we go. So in the effort to save you clicks and make your life easier, we introduced Cloud Plus. So Cloud Plus is accessible from the markups panel up here. If I go to Shapes, Cloud Plus, I have a hotkey K that I can hit for that. Or in the profile I'm working in, the construction profile, it's also available right along the side here. So I'll show you how it works. So Cloud Plus, first you're going to place your cloud. So click and drag. And now I need to place my call out here. And you'll notice the leader line is kind of moving around as I move my mouse around. So I'll go ahead and stick it right here. So I'll say add mullion detail right there. Cool. So the idea behind this is to save you some clicks. You're doing essentially selecting one tool instead of two, but also because it is one markup, it makes it easier to move it around like so. Also, another benefit is that it appears in the markups list down here as a single markup. So it just makes it a little more manageable and easy to track in that markups list. Alrighty. So onwards, the next markup tools I want to cover is sketch tools. In order to show sketch tools, I'm going to show up or select this site plan here. So I mentioned that this is probably one of the most requested features of all time. So I'm really stoked to see it in this version. Let me give you a real-world example of where you might use this. So let's say that, so I have my site plan here. Let's say that I wanted to add the location of my plan trailer on here. Well, previously I could, do my rectangle tool and draw my plan trailer on there. But you know what? If I want to set this rectangle up where it's these specific dimensions of my trailer, that's less than ideal. I mean, maybe I know for a fact that my trailer is 50 feet long by 20 feet wide, and I just want to draw that to scale by just typing in dimensions. Well, good news, you can do that in Revu 2015 using sketch tools. So I'll show you how to do that now using a rectangle sketch tool. So as I drag out this rectangle, you'll notice it's adjusting my width and height numbers automatically there. So I can still just draw freehand if I'm so inclined, or I can type in the dimensions manually. So I mentioned before that my trailer is 50 feet long by 20 feet wide. And to make it interesting, let's say it's at a 90-degree rotation. There we go. There's our trailer. It's drawn to scale according to the embedded scale that I have in this drawing. So that is awesome. Something else I can do here is I have the ability to show my caption there. That's going to show me how many square feet it is. I can also add a label. So if I want to let people know that this is a plan trailer, I can do that. And I'll just rotate my caption a little bit, and there it is. So you can do this with rectangles, ellipse markups, polygons, polylines, you name it. So tremendously powerful tool. I know you guys are going to love it, and for a lot of folks, this is a godsend. It's something that they've been asking for a while, and we're happy to bring it to you. Alrighty, so onwards to the dynamic toolset scaler. I have a perfect document to open to illustrate that. I'll just close this other one here. So this particular drawing that we're looking at here, it has a 1/8 inch equals a foot scale. But I have this viewport over here that is a 1/4 inch equals a foot scale. So in previous versions of Revu, this presented a problem. So you can see here, this is my main embedded scale, the 1/8 inch equals a foot. And then if I look at my viewports here, if I select that viewport, there's my 1/4 inch equals a foot. So the problem before was that you had to essentially create two separate tool sets according to scale. So these tools that I had over here, I'd have to have one for an 1/8 inch equals a foot, a separate one for a 1/4 inch equals a foot, which is kind of a hassle. But check this out. If I want to place a sink on here, you'll notice as I drag over this, on Butterfingers there, if I drag over this 1/8 inch equals a foot part of the document there, now if I move over into the 1/4 inch equals a foot, it automatically resizes. So check that out. As I move back and forth, it's going to auto size for me. So this is awesome because it means that I can just have this one master tool set here, and I can just continue using that regardless of the scale of the drawing that I'm working on. And the reason this works is I've defined a sort of baseline scale. It was basically the scale that I was operating on whenever I created this tool set initially. So that's giving Revu a point of reference for how large these markups should be. So when I'm moving on documents of different scales or viewports of different scales, Revu can adjust accordingly. I also have the ability to override this. So there's a little toggle switch here. If I don't want it to scale, I can override that. And now as I move this sync back and forth, you'll notice it's not scaling anymore. So you can use it whether you want to or not. Excellent. So that is some of our markup tools. So as the project moves closer to completion, a lot of times the often painful process of punch and back checks begins. And we have a couple of feature enhancements in Revu 2015 that can be used to eliminate redundancy and increase accountability and productivity through this punch and back check process. So firstly, I want to show you the enhancements to spaces, which is an existing feature. So I've got a couple of different drawings open, this A201 and A202. Something you'll notice is on this A201, I've utilized our tool spaces to define zones as well as individual rooms within those zones. And this is great, but what if I want this A202 that has almost the same floor plan to have the same zones? Well, in old versions of Revu, I would have to manually recreate all those spaces, which if you think about a high-rise building that has, lots and lots of floors with similar floor plans, this is kind of a redundant task to have to do. So awesome thing that you can do in Revu 2015 is I can select a zone or specific rooms. I'm going to go ahead and copy that, or you could hit Control-C as the hotkey. I'll go over to my A202. I'm going to use the hotkey command Control-Shift-V. And there we go. I've pasted over this entire zone of rooms right over to A202. So Control-Shift-V, that hotkey combination is for paste in place. Paste in place, it works not only for spaces but also for markups as well. It essentially, it makes it so that if you're going to paste, it pastes it in the exact same coordinates on the sheet. So for things like this, when you're bringing over an entire space, it's extremely helpful. So this really cuts down on that redundant work, having to recreate those spaces over again. Something else that's really cool that you can do with spaces here is I can create area measurements directly from spaces. So I have this room selected. I can right-click, create area measurement, and I can see this is 110 square feet right there. Additionally, I can easily hyperlink to these spaces. As I hover over these spaces over here, you'll see that little green icon there. If I want to hyperlink to the space, I can click that green icon, select the area on my, my drawing that I want to be hyperlinked. So I'm going to hyperlink this to that space. So now that that's hyperlinked, as I hover over it, you notice my cursor changes. I can click on that and jump right to that space. So really cool stuff. This is all some great improvements to make spaces even more useful than ever. So onwards to Capture 2.0. Let's talk about what's new with Capture. Here we go. I have this back check documents. I believe this also has spaces defined on it. And one of the nice things you'll notice here is that since I use spaces, it's populating right in that spaces column exactly where these punch keys have been dropped. So that's immensely useful. So we introduced Capture with our previous version, and what it does is it allows you to embed media within markups. So I have this punch key right here. I have this little camera icon. If I click on that, if I click on that, I see this embedded gallery of images there. So rather than simply describing what this crack in the wall looks like, I can actually drop images right in there. I have the ability to add photos directly from my camera live, or to add photos that I have saved just on my hard drive. I also have the ability to export this entire gallery out, and I can also delete specific images in the gallery if I so choose. So this is extremely handy, but then what's new in this version is you can now embed video with audio. So in this case, I don't have the audio hooked up, so you're not going to hear it, but I can play this embedded video showing the exposed conduit on the job site. And this really helps you to communicate more efficiently exactly what the issues are, what the site conditions are. So immensely powerful tool for you guys. Something else that's really cool with Capture content is now it can actually be sorted and filtered in the markups list. So if I toggle on that capture column, oops, there we go. So I've got my capture column here. I can actually filter to only the markups that I've added capture media to, right there. I also have the ability to export all this capture media into a summary. So I can do a capture summary. If I'd like to attach all the media as linked files, I can do so if I so choose. I'm not going to do that just for the sake of brevity because we have that video file in there. But now I have this nice capture summary here. It shows me all of the different images that I embedded into markups, as well as that video as well. So this makes the capture tool really more powerful and user-friendly than ever before. All right. With that, I'm going to go ahead and return to my slide deck here. Okay, so I mentioned before that we have some significant improvements to Studio. First, I'm going to talk about Studio sessions. So I mentioned that with Review 2015, you can now schedule session end dates. Previously, you had to basically go in and manually close these out, whether that meant setting an Outlook reminder to do it or so on and so forth. But now you can do it ahead of time. Let me show you real quick exactly how that works. If I pop into my example session here, I have a demo session. If I want this to expire on a certain date, if I go into my settings here, I can set up an expiration and define exactly what the date and time are that I want them to expire. And you will receive multiple email notifications ahead of time. So in case you forget that it's expiring, you will get notifications. And you always have the ability to go in and delay those expirations. And let's say you're out on vacation, you miss the notifications and it expires, you absolutely have the ability to go back and reopen those sessions afterwards. So they're not closed forever. You can jump back into them if you need more time. Also in sessions, you have the ability, in sessions that you have linked to a Studio project, you have the ability to update that project copy of the file without having to close the session out first. All you have to do is right-click on that file in the session, choose Update the latest version, and it will update that copy of the file in the project so everybody can see the changes without having to close out that session. So that's really handy. We also have some significant enhancements to Studio Projects. So Studio Projects is sort of the lightweight document management system that we have within Studio. So you can see here I have a project folder that I've uploaded in there with a lot of different sheets there. Again, just a reminder for folks that may not be familiar with projects, you can upload any file type whatsoever, and you have unlimited storage space as well. So this is not just limited to PDFs. You can stick anything you want in there. So with projects, you now have the ability to set permissions on a per folder basis. So maybe the Sheets folder, I want to limit who can access it or who can change it, but then I want different permissions on this RFI folder and so on. If I go into Settings now, you can define your exact folder permissions here, and if I pop open this drop-down, you can see all the permissions I can define there. And you can do this not only at the user level, but also at the group level. So if you want to have, I don't know, a project manager group that has permissions for everything and then kind of lock it down for everybody else, you can do that. You can also make these folders entirely hidden for specific users or groups. So if you don't even want them to be able to see it in the first place, you can absolutely do that. Something else that's really cool with projects is, let's say I want to share this A100 sheet with somebody, but I just want to send them a download link. I don't want to invite them to my project. What I can do is right-click on that, and I can share link. And this is just going to send them a web link where they can just, essentially they click on the link, it opens up the link in their browser, their web browser, and they just download the file from the web. And I can define whether it's valid for the life of the project or 24 hours. I can also define whether there's a password involved. So if I don't want them to just be able to, forward it on to whomever they want, I can set up a password as well. I can also set up where if they do get this sheet, all the markups are going to be flattened on it, so they're not allowed to change those markups. So this is really handy with sharing these files sort of outside of this project's ecosystem. Excellent. So with that, I want to launch into some of the other improvements in Review 2015 here. So our iPad app has been revamped with a new feature called Studio Go. So a common concern with a lot of our iPad users was the speed with which they were able to render PDFs. With Studio Go, the rendering speed has been dramatically improved, and that's due to the fact that we now allow users to cache files in advance. So you can essentially cache these PDFs ahead of time, and then they render much, much faster. You have the ability to adjust the level to which it caches, so you can kind of adjust between if you want maximum speeds versus conserving hard drive space. You can absolutely adjust that to your specifications. All right, a few other improvements here. Actually, this is regarding Studio as a whole. I forgot to mention these. You also, with Studio in general, you have the ability to change your registered Studio email address. Also, we have at-rest file encryption. So when a file is stored in Studio, it's marked as encrypted as soon as it's checked back in. And also the upload speeds in general, whether it's on the actual full version of Review or on the iPad app, the upload speeds for Studio have been dramatically improved as well. All right, onwards, additional improvements. So we have some improvements to Microsoft Office. So in Review 2015, you can export scanned documents to Microsoft Word or Excel and have them show up as editable text. And this applies even if you do not have Extreme. So even in the standard version, you can do this. And also now you can not only export these documents to Word or Excel, you can export only sections of a document, such as, let's say you have only an index table or a price schedule that you want to export to Excel. You can do just a section of the document. This speeds up the process dramatically, and also just makes it a lot easier to work with in general. Also, digital signatures. So we have a brand new digital signatures panel that you will be automatically prompted to open anytime you open a PDF with digital signatures on it. And from there, you can easily see who signed the document, and you can jump to exactly where the signature was placed on the page. So you don't have to waste time hunting around on the document trying to find where that digital signature is. You can just click and jump straight to it. And with that, that is all of the new items for Review 2015. So I really want to thank you for your time jumping on the webinar. It's really exciting to talk about the new stuff and to see kind of the enthusiasm and incitement from all the customers such as yourself. We really we build these features and we add these functionality as a direct result of the suggestions that you guys submit to us every day. So thank you for that and helping us to constantly get better. So with that, we do have a little bit of time for Q&A. Before I open up the floor, I just want to remind everyone that this webinar was graciously hosted by Novedge. So if you have any questions or you need any quotes or you'd like to acquire licensing, so on and so forth, you can reach out directly to Novedge. Calvin in sales, you can email him at calvin@novedge.com, and you can see the phone number on the screen there as well. So with that,
Thank you.
I guess, Barbara, we can open it up for questions.
Yes, thank you, Steve. You know, Angela did a great job behind the scene answering all the questions that came in. There's a few that just came in now, so I'm going to read them to you. How about that?
All right.
Okay. One says, where did you embed the video? How did you create the pop-up for photos or videos?
So with photos, I'll jump back into that document we're looking at there. So with photos, there's a couple of ways of doing it. Either you can simply, actually let me choose a punch key that does not have media. So this punch key does not have anything embedded in it yet. So if I right click here, capture, I can either select from a file. So let's say, I don't know, I want to embed this Novedge logo in there. I can choose from a file saved right on my computer. The other option is to capture it live. So for example, I can either capture it right here or again by right clicking on it. So I'll capture it live just from my webcam. So put a little selfie in there. So that's been added to the gallery there. So that's what you can do in terms of photos. In terms of video, an important distinction is video must be captured live. You cannot embed a saved video from your hard drive. So the way I would do it is, let's say I'm out in the field with my tablet, whether it's an iPad or my Windows tablet. I've just dropped this punch key. I want to embed a video. I would go ahead and capture from camera. I'm going to switch it over to video. And then I would essentially record that video live there. So I'll just wave a little bit. And there we go. I've embedded my video there, and I can play it. So if you're wondering why we're not able to embed sort of saved videos, the reasoning behind that is it was kind of necessary in order to not require customers to be downloading all kinds of different video codecs and so forth. So just kind of something to keep in mind. If you're going to embed video, you want to do it live.
Looking great, Steve. Looking great. I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read you another question. Can you get a link to an entire file to send to a client, or can you only send links for individual files? What about entire folder?
I believe you can do it with folders as well. Let's try it out. You know what? It looks like it is only files. Yeah. Yeah, only individual files, not folders. You could, of course, invite them to the project and then basically set their permissions such where they could only see that one folder. That would be one way to do it, but in terms of sending out the link, it looks like it is individual files.
All right. Next question. How do binders work with batch sets or slips?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. How do binders work with batch sets or slips?
I'm not quite sure I understand the question.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's from Josh. So Josh, if you can reiterate the question, we'll read it back to Steve. In the meantime, what if a page is deleted from previous binder?
By binder, do you mean like previous like set of revisions or previous sheet set?
That's a good question. I don't know. Okay, so a PDF binder as opposed to separate sheets. That's what it means.
And does that mean like a multi-page PDF, or is it like a PDF package?
Okay, while we wait for the update on this question, I'm going to read you the next one. Can Revu perform its overlay functions with original and revised 3D views on PDFs?
With 3D PDFs, no, not with 3D PDFs. With 2D PDFs, definitely.
Okay, great. So in the meantime, there's been a lot of questions about the Mac version. And I know Angela replied to some, but if you want to repeat that, I know there's a beta, right, available for Mac?
Yeah, yeah. You know, I am personally anxiously awaiting the Mac version myself because in my personal life, I'm a Mac user. So I'd love to be able to use Revu on my home computer. So we are currently running a Mac beta. So we are actively beta testing that right now. In terms of a timeline for release, we don't have a set release date, but we are, I would say our goal, if all goes well, is to have it ready in time for next year's release.
Cool, very exciting. So going back to the question that was a little bit puzzling, what Josh meant, he meant a multi-page PDF as opposed to separate sheets. And what if a page is deleted from a multi-page binder after revision? That's what it meant. The original...
Great question. And that was relating to batch slip sheet.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. So that's a very good question. So if I go to File, Batch, Slip Sheet, the match pages by, so in this case I did file name and page index. That would not work in that scenario that you just gave because you've got different numbers of pages, right? So it's not going to match them up appropriately. This is where page label comes into effect. So as long as those page labels were set up correctly, it would not matter if you have different numbers of pages. As long as they're labeled correctly, it's still going to match them appropriately. And if by chance you're thinking to yourself, well, you know, a lot of times my labels are not really correct, we have an awesome feature called AutoMark, which automates the process of creating page labels. I know we're pretty much at the end of our time, so I don't have enough time to properly demo it, but if you check out the Bluebeam website and look at AutoMark, it's a really powerful tool for setting up those page labels. And then once you do that, you could essentially use that for matching revisions with batch slip sheet, and it would work correctly regardless of your number of pages.
That's great, and you're right, we're out of time, we're running out of time, so I will have to take back the screen. Sorry about that. And I want to thank you all for attending. Thank you all for attending the Novedge webinar. And I want to inform you that Bluebeam 2015 is ready for download and for purchase. So visit our page at novedge.com and check it out. Novedge is the best way to buy design software online. For information on the latest special and releases, join the Novedge network on Facebook, Google+, or Twitter. And announcing that the upcoming webinar will be Hello RhinoGold 5.0, the latest CAD for jewelry. Observe as the RhinoGold team demonstrates all the new tools and RhinoGold 5.0's improvements. To rewatch today's webinar or previous ones, check out our Novedge, YouTube, and Vimeo channels. Our webinar playlist has webinars for every software taste, and this webinar will be posted online as soon as this afternoon. So I know a few asked, so check back with us in a few hours and the recording will be there. Thanks again for joining us and have a wonderful day. And thank you again, Steve and Angela. Great job. We're very excited about Review 15.
Thank you, and thanks everyone for attending.
Thank you and goodbye.
Bye.